Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and watched the stars outside his window. The massive ship was one of Earth's finest vessels in the Galactic Federation fleet. Jake had served alongside alien friends for 15 years. Now, he trusted them with his life every single day. The bridge was busy with activity. His first officer was Commander Zextai, a tall crystalline being from the Zelani race. The creature's body sparkled like diamonds under the ship lights. Next to Zextai stood Lieutenant Hydros Prime Villara, whose blue skin glistened with moisture from her water suit. The insectoid communications officer Kethvar Kliktar worked at his station with 4 arms moving across the controls. Jake smiled as he watched his mixed crew work together. This was what the Federation meant to him. Different. Species working as one family. Humans had joined this great alliance 200 years ago. Since then, they had fought side by side with their alien friends in countless battles. They had explored new worlds together. They had shared knowledge and culture. Far away on the research station Omega Prime, Dr. Lisa Xiang was having a very different day. She worked in the xenobiology lab studying alien life forms. Her job was to help humans understand their Federation partners better. Lisa had always been curious about everything around her. Today, that curiosity would change everything. She was reviewing communication logs when something caught her eye. The data streams showed patterns that seemed wrong. Messages were being sent between alien council members using codes she had never seen before. Lisa frowned and leaned closer to her screen. These messages were not going through normal Federation channels. Lieutenant Paul Davis walked into the lab carrying 2 cups of coffee. He was Lisa's research assistant and had worked with her for 3 years. Paul noticed the worried look on Lisa's face right away. "What's got you looking so serious this morning?" Paul asked as he set down her coffee. Lisa pointed at her screen. "Look at these communication patterns. The Zelani Council is sending encrypted messages to Hydro's leadership. But they're not using Federation encryption. This is something else entirely." Paul moved closer to study the data. He had a good eye for patterns, too. After a few minutes, he shook his head. "This doesn't make sense. Why would they need secret communications? We're all allies here." Meanwhile, on the frontier world of Kepler-7, Commander Ryan Scott was leading his human battalion through training exercises. The planet was on the edge of Federation space. It served as a buffer zone against unknown threats from the outer rim. Ryan had been stationed here for 2 years with his mixed unit of human and alien soldiers. The training field was hot and dusty. Ryan watched as his human Marines worked alongside Kethvar warriors in combat drills. Everything seemed normal. His alien comrades fought with the same dedication as his human troops. They shared meals together. They told stories around campfires. They were brothers in arms. What Ryan didn't know was that every move he made was being recorded. Hidden sensors tracked how humans fought. Advanced computers analyzed human tactical thinking. The alien observers took notes on human strengths and weaknesses. They studied how humans adapted to different battle situations. Back on the Defiance, Jake was reviewing reports from across Federation space. The documents showed increasing activity along the border regions. New ships were being built. Troops were being moved to different positions. When Jake asked his alien officers about these movements, they always had reasonable explanations. "Standard rotation procedures," Zextai would say in his musical voice. "Routine maintenance schedules," Villara would add with her bubbling tone. Jake trusted them completely. He had no reason to doubt his friends. They had saved his life in battle many times. He had done the same for them. This was what true friendship looked like. Dr. Chang continued her investigation into the strange communications. She found more encrypted channels every day. The messages were increasing in frequency. They seemed to be coordinating something big across multiple star systems. Lisa began to feel a cold fear growing in her chest. She started working late into the night, trying to break the alien codes. Paul helped her by running computer analysis programs. They made slow progress. The encryption was unlike anything in Federation databases. This was definitely not standard diplomatic communication. One night, Lisa finally cracked part of the code. What she read made her blood run cold. The partial message contained words like human problem and final solution, and cleansing operation. She printed the data with shaking hands. Paul read over her shoulder and went pale. "This can't be real," he whispered. "They're our friends. We've been allies for centuries." Lisa stared at the evidence in front of her. Everything she had believed about the Federation was crumbling. Her alien friends were planning something terrible, something that involved humans being a problem that needed a solution. She realized that humanity was in terrible danger. The species they trusted most were planning to betray them. Lisa knew she had to warn someone quickly. But who would believe such an impossible thing? How could she convince anyone that their closest allies were actually their greatest enemies? The peaceful life of the Federation was about to end forever. Dr. Lisa Chang worked through the night breaking more of the alien codes. Each message she decoded made the situation worse. The Federation Council had been planning this betrayal for months. They called it Operation Cleansing Dawn. The name made Lisa feel sick to her stomach. Paul Davis helped her organize the decoded messages into a clear timeline. The aliens had been preparing for a coordinated attack on every human world. Earth itself was the primary target. The plan was to eliminate humanity completely while making it look like humans had become dangerous and needed to be stopped. "Look at this one," Paul said, pointing to a message from the HFY High Command. "They've been mapping our defense systems for years. Every time we shared military data with them, they were copying it for this operation." Lisa read the message and felt betrayed in ways she never thought possible. The HFY had been her favorite Federation species. She had worked closely with many of them over the years. She had considered them friends. Now she learned they saw her as nothing more than a target to be eliminated. The most horrible discovery came when Lisa decoded a message about genetic harvesting. The Federation had been secretly collecting human DNA samples during routine medical checkups. They were studying human biology to find the best ways to kill large numbers of humans quickly. Lisa knew she had to contact Admiral Helen Torres immediately. Torres was Earth's highest-ranking officer in Federation space. If anyone could stop this disaster, it would be her. Lisa began composing an encrypted message using old Earth military codes that predated Federation technology. On the mining colony of New Texas, Sheriff Don Cooper was noticing strange things happening around town. Alien ships that normally followed predictable schedules were arriving at odd times. The crews seemed nervous and avoided talking to human colonists. Dan had been a lawman for 20 years. He knew when something was wrong. His wife, Dr. Marie Cooper, was having her own concerns at the local medical center. The Federation health officials had been conducting more frequent medical scans on human colonists. They claimed it was for a new preventive health program. But Marie noticed they were only scanning humans. The alien residents were exempt from these health checks. Marie began reviewing the medical data more carefully. What she found made her hands shake with anger. The scans were not checking for diseases. They were mapping human genetic patterns and biological weaknesses. The Federation was preparing to use this information against her people. Don found Marie in her office late one evening, staring at her computer screen with tears in her eyes. "What's wrong, honey?" he asked, putting his hand on her shoulder. "They're going to kill us all," Marie whispered. "These aren't medical scans, Dan. They're target assessments. The Federation is planning to murder every human in the galaxy." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was dealing with increasing problems on the Defiance. His alien crew members claimed the ship was experiencing random technical failures. The weapons systems would shut down unexpectedly. The navigation computers gave wrong coordinates. The communication arrays developed mysterious interference. Jake trusted his alien officers completely, so he believed their explanations about system malfunctions. What he didn't realize was that his trusted friends were systematically sabotaging his ship. They were preparing to leave him defenseless when the attack began. Engineer Sam Rodriguez was getting suspicious, though. He had maintained these systems for 5 years. The failures seemed too convenient and too coordinated. Sam began running his own diagnostic tests when the alien crew wasn't watching. Communications. Officer Kate Williams was also noticing problems. Incoming messages from Earth were being delayed or corrupted. Messages to other human ships were failing to transmit properly. When she asked the alien communications staff about these issues, they always had technical explanations that sounded reasonable. Admiral Torres received Dr. Chang's encrypted message while attending a Federation Council meeting. She excused herself and went to a secure location to decode the transmission. What she read made her realize that humanity was about to face extinction. Torres immediately began sending coded warnings to human commanders across the galaxy. She used old military frequencies that the Federation might not be monitoring. Her messages were brief and urgent. Storm coming. Prepare for the worst. Trust no aliens. The problem was that most human officers couldn't believe such a warning. They had served with alien friends for decades. The idea that the entire Federation was planning to betray humanity seemed impossible. Many commanders ignored Torres' messages completely. Commander Ryan Scott on Kepler 7 was one of the few who took the warning seriously. He had always been more cautious than other officers. He began quietly preparing his human troops for trouble while keeping his alien soldiers. Unaware of his suspicions, Ryan started conducting training exercises that were actually preparation for defending against alien attacks. He moved his human troops to more defensible positions. He secured the ammunition supplies and made sure his communications equipment couldn't be sabotaged easily. Back on Omega Prime, Lisa and Paul worked frantically to decode more messages and send warnings to anyone who would listen. They discovered that the attack was planned for the next day. Operation Cleansing Dawn would begin at exactly 0800 Federation Standard time across all human territories. The messages revealed that the aliens planned to strike simultaneously at 47 human worlds. Earth's moon base would be destroyed first to eliminate the human fleet headquarters. Then ground forces would attack civilian targets while space forces eliminated human ships. Lisa sent desperate messages to every human commander she could contact. Most of the transmissions were intercepted by Federation communication systems and never reached their destinations. The few warnings that got through were often dismissed as impossible. As the night wore on, Lisa realized that humanity was walking into a trap with no idea what was coming. Tomorrow would bring death and destruction on a scale never seen before. The species that humans trusted most were about to become their executioners. She looked at Paul and saw the same desperate fear in his eyes. They had uncovered the truth, but they were powerless to stop what was coming. Humanity's greatest allies were about to become their worst enemies, and almost no one was prepared for the betrayal that would begin with the next sunrise. The attack began exactly at 0800 Federation Standard Time across 47 human worlds. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when his ship's alarm started screaming. Through the bridge windows he saw Zalani crystal ships emerging from hyperspace with their weapons already charging. Zextai. What's happening? Jake shouted to his first officer, the crystalline being turned toward Jake with an expression that was no longer friendly. You humans have become a threat to galactic peace. The Federation has voted to eliminate your species for the safety of all civilized worlds. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. His trusted friend for 15 years had just declared war on humanity. Before he could respond, Zextai pulled out a crystal blade and lunged at him. Jake barely dodged the attack and rolled behind his command chair. Engineer Sam Rodriguez heard the commotion from the bridge and ran to help his captain. He had suspected something was wrong with the ship's systems. Now he understood that the alien crew had been preparing for this moment. Sam grabbed a plasma wrench and fought his way through corridors filled with alien crew members who were trying to kill every human on board. Communications officer Kate Williams was trapped in her station when the Hydros officer Valara attacked her with water-based acid weapons. Kate managed to seal herself inside the communication room and began sending emergency signals to any human ships that might be listening on Earth. General Carlos Martin watched in horror as ships he had trusted his entire career opened fire on Luna City. The moon base housed the families of thousands of human officers. Children and civilians were being murdered by weapons that Earth had helped design and build, the Zilani. Crystal ships rained destruction down on the lunar surface. Their energy beams sliced through defensive shields like they didn't exist. Martin realized that the aliens knew exactly how to bypass every defensive system because humans had shared that information with their allies over the years. Hydro submarines emerged from Earth's oceans simultaneously. They had been hiding in the deepest parts of the sea for months, waiting for this moment. The aquatic aliens used their knowledge of human underwater cities to strike at the most vulnerable points. Thousands of humans died in the first few minutes as their underwater homes were destroyed. On the colony world of New Texas, Sheriff Don Cooper was ready when the attack began. His wife Marie had convinced him to prepare for the worst. When HFY ground forces attacked the town, Don and a group of armed colonists were waiting in defensive positions. The insectoid warriors had expected to find defenseless civilians. Instead, they faced organized resistance from humans who knew they were coming. Dan's group managed to hold off the first wave of attackers, but they were vastly outnumbered. Marie Cooper used her medical knowledge to help wounded defenders while coordinating evacuation efforts. She had studied HFY biology and knew their weak points. Her information helped the human defenders target the aliens more effectively. Commander Ryan Scott on Kepler 7 had positioned his human troops in the best defensive locations before the attack began. When his alien soldiers revealed their true intentions, Ryan's Marines were ready for battle. The fighting was brutal and close quarters, but the humans had the advantage of preparation. Ryan watched in disgust as HFY warriors he had served with for years tried to kill his men. These aliens had shared meals with his troops and fought beside them in training exercises. Now they were enemies trying to commit genocide back on the Defiance. Captain Morrison and his remaining human crew fought desperately to retake their ship. Engineer Rodriguez had managed to reach the engine room and was working to restart the systems that the aliens had sabotaged. Communications Officer Williams was broadcasting emergency signals while defending her position. The battle for the ship lasted for hours. Jake and his crew knew every corridor and maintenance tunnel. They used their knowledge of the vessel to outmaneuver the alien crew members who were trying to hunt them down. Slowly, the humans began to gain control of their ship on Omega Prime research station. Dr. Lisa Chang and Lieutenant Paul Davis barely escaped with their lives when Zilani security forces tried to eliminate them. Lisa had prepared for this possibility and had hidden emergency supplies in a maintenance shaft. She and Paul made their way through the station's service tunnels while aliens searched for them. The space battle around Earth was devastating for humanity. Federation ships used tactics that Earth's military had developed and shared with their allies. Every human strategy was known and countered before it could be effective. The alien forces had spent years preparing for this exact scenario. Admiral Torres found herself commanding a fleet that was being systematically destroyed by enemies who knew their every move. The Federation forces targeted human command ships first, trying to eliminate leadership and coordination. Torres realized that humanity's trust had been turned into their greatest weakness. Across the galaxy, human colonies were falling one by one. The aliens broadcast messages claiming that humans had become dangerously aggressive and needed to be contained for galactic security. They showed edited footage of human military exercises as evidence of human warmongering. Most alien civilians believed these lies because they trusted their governments. The few alien species who questioned the official story were told that humans had been planning to attack peaceful Federation worlds. The propaganda campaign had been prepared as carefully as the military operation. By the end of the first day, billions of humans were dead or missing. Earth's government had fallen. When Federation forces captured the capital cities, the human fleet was scattered and broken. Most human colonies had been destroyed or occupied by alien forces. The survivors who remained were hiding in remote locations or fighting desperate rearguard actions. The Federation announced that the human problem had been solved and that the galaxy was now safe from human aggression. They claimed that any remaining humans would be relocated to containment facilities for their own protection. Captain Morrison's crew had managed to retake the Defiance, but they were alone in hostile space. Every Federation ship in the sector was hunting for them. Jake realized that everything he had believed about alien friendship had been a lie. The species he had trusted with his life had planned to murder him and every other human in the galaxy. The betrayal was complete, and humanity seemed to be finished forever. 6 months after the betrayal, Colonel Mike Turner was building something the aliens thought was impossible. Deep in the cave systems of the devastated World Haven, he was creating a hidden base for human survivors. The planet's surface was scorched and lifeless, but the underground network stretched for hundreds of miles. Turner had been a Marine for 25 years before the attack. He knew how to survive in hostile territory and how to organize resistance movements. The caves provided perfect concealment from alien scanning equipment. The natural rock formations blocked most sensor sweeps. Major Linda Hayes served as Turner's second in command and coordinated with other survivor groups across known space. She had established a network of hidden communication relays using old human technology that predated Federation systems. The aliens didn't know these frequencies existed. Hayes spent her days receiving reports from survivors on dozens of worlds. The news was usually bad, but sometimes she heard about successful raids against alien supply convoys or rescue operations that saved human prisoners. Each small victory gave her hope that humanity could fight back. The Haven base grew larger. Every week, as more survivors found their way to the hidden facility, Turner's people had built workshops where they could modify captured alien equipment. They had medical facilities staffed by human doctors who had escaped the initial attacks. They had training areas where former soldiers taught civilians how to fight. Dr. Lisa Chang had been presumed dead by the Federation, which was exactly what she wanted. After escaping from Omega Prime, she had been rescued by a group of alien sympathizers who disagreed with the genocide. These aliens belonged to younger species that had not been part of the original conspiracy. Chang worked with a Zilani engineer named Vexala, who had risked his life to help human survivors. Vexala was horrified by what his government had done and wanted to make amends. Together, they developed ways to turn Federation technology against its creators. The research lab they built was hidden inside an asteroid field that the Federation considered worthless. Chang and Vexala spent their time analyzing captured alien weapons and shield systems. They found weaknesses that human engineers could exploit. Lieutenant Paul Davis had survived the attack on Omega Prime and eventually found his way to Chang's asteroid laboratory. He brought with him complete copies of Federation communication protocols and military planning documents. This information was invaluable for understanding how the aliens organized their forces. Captain Morrison's ship had become a mobile base of operations for rescue missions across Federation space. The Defiance moved constantly to avoid alien patrol fleets. Morrison and his crew specialized in hitting alien prison facilities and freeing human captives. Engineer Rodriguez had modified the ship's systems to run on human technology exclusively. All Federation components had been removed or replaced. The aliens could no longer track or sabotage the vessel. Rodriguez had also upgraded the weapons with modifications that made them more effective against alien shields. Communications Officer Williams maintained contact with survivor groups throughout the galaxy. She used a complex system of coded messages and relay stations to coordinate resistance activities. The aliens never suspected that the scattered human survivors were actually working together. The resistance discovered that not all Federation species had supported the betrayal. Some alien races had been coerced into participating through threats and blackmail. Others had been kept completely unaware of the genocide plan until it was too late to object. Turner's intelligence network identified several alien species that were potential allies. These aliens had been victims of Federation manipulation just like humanity. They were angry about being used and were willing to help the human resistance in secret. The most important ally was a Hydros named Deep Current, who commanded a small fleet of ships in the Outer Rim territories. Deep Current had refused to participate in the attack on human underwater cities. His ships had been marked as traitors by the Federation, so he had nothing to lose by helping humanity, Chang's research team made a breakthrough when they developed a computer virus that could target Federation systems. The virus was designed to corrupt alien communication networks and disable their coordination capabilities. It was based on human programming techniques that the aliens had never encountered. Turner began planning larger operations as the resistance grew stronger. His hidden bases now existed on 15 different worlds. He had trained over 10,000 human fighters and equipped them with modified alien weapons. The survivors had learned to use Federation equipment better than its original creators. The Resistance also made contact with alien criminals and smugglers who operated outside Federation law. These individuals were willing to provide information and supplies in exchange for payment. They didn't care about the genocide as long as there was profit to be made. Major Hayes coordinated a series of raids that freed thousands of human prisoners from Federation detention centers. The aliens had been using these prisoners for medical experiments and forced labor. The rescue operations provided the Resistance with more fighters and valuable intelligence about alien weaknesses. Morrison's ship participated in a daring raid on a Federation research facility where aliens were studying captured human weapons and tactics. The attack not only destroyed valuable alien research but also recovered human military equipment that had been stolen during the initial betrayal. The Resistance learned that alien morale was declining in many sectors. Federation troops had expected the war to end quickly with humanity's complete elimination. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to die and kept getting stronger. Dr. Chang discovered that the aliens had a critical weakness in their thinking patterns. They were logical and predictable in ways that humans were not. Human creativity and adaptability were traits that alien minds simply could not understand or counter effectively. This gave the Resistance a significant tactical advantage. Turner realized that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons. It was their refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Every human survivor who joined the Resistance made the movement stronger and harder to defeat. By the end of the first year after the betrayal, the human Resistance had evolved from scattered survivors into an organized fighting force. They had allies, resources, and most importantly, they had hope. The aliens who thought they had eliminated humanity were about to learn that humans were much harder to kill than they had imagined. The underground war was just beginning, and humanity was preparing to teach their betrayers a lesson they would never forget. 2 years after the betrayal, Admiral Helen Torres stood in the command center of humanity's greatest secret. Hidden in the void fields, a region of empty space that aliens considered worthless, she had built a fleet that would shock the galaxy. The ships around her looked like nothing the Federation had ever seen. Torres had spent months gathering every human survivor with engineering or military experience. They had salvaged wrecked alien vessels and combined the technology with human innovation. The result was a fleet of hybrid warships that used the best of both worlds while remaining completely invisible to Federation sensors. The flagship of this secret armada was a massive vessel called the Retribution. It had been built from the wreckage of 12 different alien ships and powered by engines that engineer Rodriguez had designed. The ship could outrun anything in the Federation fleet while carrying enough firepower to destroy an entire enemy squadron. Dr. Chang had moved her research operation to the void fields and was working around the clock to prepare for the coming battle. Her computer virus was now ready for deployment across the entire Federation network. The virus would shut down alien communications and leave their fleets blind and deaf during the crucial first hours of combat. Lieutenant Davis had become an expert at infiltrating Federation computer systems. He could access alien military databases and steal their operational plans. The Resistance knew exactly where every major Federation fleet was positioned and how they planned to respond to different threats. The most important discovery came when Chang analyzed Federation psychology reports about human behavior, the aliens had concluded that humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable and emotional. What the aliens saw as weaknesses were actually humanity's greatest strengths in warfare. Colonel Turner had expanded his ground forces to include fighters from 30 different worlds. His soldiers had trained for 2 years in tactics specifically designed to counter each alien species. They knew how to exploit Zalani crystal formation weaknesses, how to disrupt Hydro's water-based attacks, and how to outmaneuver Kethver insectoid swarms. The Resistance had also learned to reverse engineer, captured Federation equipment and make it work better than the original designs. Human creativity allowed them to find uses for alien technology that the creators had never imagined. Their modified weapons could penetrate alien shields that were supposedly impenetrable. Major Hayes had established a galaxy-wide intelligence network that rivaled anything the Federation possessed. Her agents included human survivors, sympathetic aliens, criminals, and mercenaries. They provided real-time information about Federation military movements and political decisions. Captain Morrison had become the Resistance's most successful raider. His ship had conducted over 50 operations against Federation targets. Each mission rescued human prisoners, captured alien equipment, or gathered intelligence about enemy capabilities. Morrison's crew had become legends among human survivors. The Resistance made contact with oppressed alien species throughout the galaxy who had also suffered under Federation rule. These races had been conquered, enslaved, or manipulated by the same council that had ordered humanity's extinction. They were eager to join a rebellion against their oppressors. The most significant ally was a species called the Vorth, reptilian beings whose homeworld had been strip-mined by Federation corporations. The Vorth had been forced to work as laborers while their planet was destroyed for its resources. They brought 50 warships and thousands of experienced fighters to the human cause. Another important ally was the machine intelligence known as the Collective, artificial beings who had been denied recognition as sentient life by the Federation. The Collective controlled vast networks of automated systems throughout alien space. They agreed to help humanity in exchange for recognition of their rights as living beings. Torres realized that the coming war would not just be about human revenge. It had become a rebellion by all the species that the Federation had wronged over the centuries. Humanity's refusal to die quietly had inspired others to stand up against their oppressors. Dr. Chang's team made another breakthrough when they developed weapons that could adapt during combat. These smart weapons analyzed enemy defenses in real time and modified their attacks accordingly. The aliens would find it impossible to develop countermeasures against technology that changed faster than they could respond. The Resistance also prepared psychological warfare campaigns designed to break alien morale. Federation troops had been told that humans were extinct or broken. Discovering that humanity was not only alive but stronger than ever would be a devastating shock to enemy forces. Turner's intelligence network discovered that the Federation Council had grown complacent since the successful genocide campaign. They had divided human territories among themselves and returned to their normal political scheming. Most alien military units had been reassigned to other duties, leaving former human space lightly defended. Morrison's reconnaissance missions revealed that many Federation facilities were still using security systems designed to keep humans out. The aliens had never updated their defenses because they believed no human threats remained. This overconfidence would prove to be a fatal mistake. Admiral Torres began planning Operation Phoenix, the coordinated strike that would announce humanity's return to the galaxy. The operation would target 12 Federation command centers simultaneously, using tactics that no alien military theorist had ever conceived. The attacks would be swift, brutal, and completely unexpected. The plan called for human fleets to emerge from hyperspace at multiple locations across Federation territory. Each strike force would use different tactics and weapons, making it impossible for the aliens to develop unified countermeasures. The Federation would face an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Chang's virus would be deployed at the exact moment the attacks began, crippling Federation communications when they needed them most. Alien commanders would be unable to coordinate their responses, or call for reinforcements. Each Federation base would have to fight alone against overwhelming human forces, ground forces under. Turner's command would simultaneously assault Federation prison camps and research facilities. They would free human captives while destroying alien installations that contained stolen human technology and biological samples. Every trace of the Federation's genocide program would be eliminated. The Resistance had prepared for this moment. For 2 long years, human survivors had transformed themselves from desperate refugees into the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. They had allies, advanced technology, superior tactics, and most importantly, they had the burning desire for justice. Torres looked at the fleet surrounding her secret base and felt pride in what humanity had accomplished. The aliens had tried to exterminate her species, but instead they had created an enemy unlike anything they could imagine. The Federation was about to learn that betraying humanity came with a price that was higher than they could ever pay. Tomorrow would bring the dawn of a new war, and this time humanity would be the ones delivering the surprise attack. Operation Phoenix began at exactly 0600 Federation Standard Time with the largest coordinated attack in galactic history. Admiral Torres watched from the bridge of the Retribution as her secret fleet emerged from hyperspace around the Federation. Capital of Zentara Prime, the aliens had been celebrating the 2nd anniversary of their successful genocide when humanity returned from the dead. The Federation Defense Fleet was caught completely off guard. Their ships were in parade formation. For the victory celebration, not combat readiness. Torres smiled grimly as her modified human vessels tore through alien formations using tactics that no Federation military academy had ever taught. The human ships moved like a swarm of angry insects, breaking apart and reforming in patterns that confused alien commanders. Each vessel fought independently while coordinating with the others through quantum communication links that the Federation couldn't intercept or jam. Captain Morrison led a strike team directly at the Federation Council chambers where alien leaders were giving speeches about the peaceful galaxy they had created. His Marines, led by Sergeant Amy Foster, used modified teleportation technology to materialize inside the heavily defended building. Foster's squad moved through the council chambers like ghosts, neutralizing alien guards with weapons that fired. Crystallized human anger. The Federation counselors who had ordered humanity's extinction found themselves face to face with the species they thought they had eliminated. Dr. Chang's computer virus activated simultaneously across the entire Federation network. Alien communication systems crashed, navigation computers provided false coordinates, and weapon targeting systems began firing at their own ships. The Federation military machine turned against itself in minutes. On 12 different worlds, Colonel Turner's ground forces struck at Federation command centers with precision that amazed even their human commanders. These soldiers had trained for this moment for 2 years, and they moved with the efficiency of human determination combined with alien technology. The battle for Zentara Prime lasted only 6 hours, but it changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Torres used swarm tactics that overwhelmed the Federation's rigid military formations. Human ships appeared and disappeared like phantoms, striking where the enemy was weakest and vanishing before counterattacks could be organized. Federation Admiral Crystalline Sharpedge tried to rally his forces using traditional battle doctrines, but human creativity made every standard tactic useless. Torres had studied alien military thinking for 2 years and knew exactly how to exploit their predictable responses. The human fleet didn't just defeat the Federation forces, they humiliated them. Alien ships that had once seemed invincible were destroyed by vessels built from salvaged wreckage. The species that had considered humans primitive barbarians were being outfought by their supposed inferiors. Morrison's team captured the entire Federation Council without losing a single Marine. The alien leaders who had planned humanity's extinction were now prisoners of the species they had tried to murder. Their shocked faces showed that they couldn't believe humans had not only survived, but returned stronger than ever. Across the galaxy. Similar scenes played out as human strike forces hit Federation installations with devastating effectiveness. The aliens had prepared for many possible threats, but they had never imagined that extinct humanity would return seeking justice. Turn their soldiers liberated human prison camps where thousands of survivors had been held for medical experiments. The rescued prisoners joined the fight immediately, their hatred of their captors providing fuel for incredible acts of courage and determination. The psychological impact on Federation forces was as devastating as the physical damage. Alien troops had been told that humans were cowards who had been easily defeated. Discovering that humanity was not only alive but winning the war broke the morale of entire Federation fleets. Dr. Chang monitored the virus spread from her command ship and watched Federation coordination collapse in real time. Without communication networks, alien commanders couldn't adapt to human tactics or request reinforcements. Each Federation base fought alone against superior human forces. The Vorthalais proved their worth by attacking Federation supply lines with reptilian fury. Their ships struck at alien logistics networks, cutting off fuel, ammunition, and food supplies to Federation military units. The aliens found themselves fighting a war they couldn't sustain. The machine collective activated hidden programs in Federation computer systems that had been dormant for years. Alien automated defenses turned against their creators, space stations, locked down their own crews, and manufacturing facilities began producing weapons for humanity. Instead of the Federation, Admiral Torres received reports of victory from every front. Human forces had achieved their objectives at minimal cost while inflicting catastrophic damage on Federation military capabilities. The aliens who had planned to exterminate humanity were being systematically defeated by their intended victims. The battle's turning point came when Morrison's team, BROADCAST live footage of the captured Federation Council to every world in the galaxy. Alien civilians saw their leaders admitting to genocide and begging for mercy from the humans they had tried to murder. The broadcast triggered revolts on dozens of worlds, where oppressed alien species rose up against Federation rule. The human rebellion had inspired others to seek freedom from the corrupt government that had controlled the galaxy for centuries. Within 72 hours of Operation Phoenix beginning, the Federation military had effectively collapsed. Their fleets were destroyed, their communication networks were down, and their political leadership was in human custody. The government that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years had fallen in 3 days, but Torres knew that winning the war was only the beginning. Humanity now faced the challenge of building something better from the ruins of the old system. The species that had nearly been exterminated had become the leaders of a galactic revolution. Morrison addressed both human and alien delegates at the first meeting of what would become the true Federation Council. He stood before representatives of dozens of species, some who had been enemies and others who had been allies in the fight for freedom. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our adaptability or our weapons, Morrison said, looking directly at the former Federation counselors who sat in the defendants section. It's our refusal to stay down when knocked down. That's what you should have feared. The new galactic government would be different from the corrupt Federation that had preceded it. It would be based on equality and justice rather than domination and exploitation. No species would ever again be eliminated for the convenience of others. Torres watched the proceedings from the observation deck and felt pride in what humanity had accomplished. The species that had been marked for extinction had not only survived, but had become the catalyst for creating a better galaxy for everyone. The aliens had betrayed humanity, thinking they were eliminating a threat. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant that would ensure such betrayals never happened again. Humanity had struck back, and the galaxy would never be the same.